That name is such a mouthful, eh?
Sorry.
That's okay, you got it right. Surrendering to the Christ. Last week I talked about the journey to wholeness and how it is our daily practice and everything that allows us to be fully present in the moment and allows us to move through life. Even though there's bumps in the road, we have an opportunity to move through those much more easily when we allow ourselves to be present. So surrendering to the Christ is not about giving up, but rather giving in. It's about allowing the divine within us to lead, move, and guide us. If we do that, if we get out of our heads for a moment, let the ego take a back seat, we begin to operate from a consciousness of absolute oneness. When we do that, the answers come easily and quickly. But it's up to us, for we can only do it for ourselves. No one can do it for us. So surrendering to the Christ is really about letting go of preconceived notions. It's about letting go of pain, suffering, resentments, frustrations, annoyances. It's about letting go of our judgments and criticisms about the world that we live in, ourselves and our peers or friends or family, and allowing ourselves instead to get into the very stillness of our being and allow the Christ to guide, move, and direct, which is an energy of oneness. It is that energy of love. This journey that we are on is an opportunity for us to really excel at experiencing the fullness of life in every moment. Now, sometimes we have bumps in the road, right? And some of those bumps are pretty darn painful. But in those moments, we have an opportunity to check in and find out first cause. You see, nothing happens in our experience, nothing happens in our body or in our world of affairs unless somewhere in our consciousness we have an attracting force for that experience. That's not to say that you're to blame if something happens. It means that somewhere within each one of us, we hold a focus or an idea of something that's right or wrong, good or bad. The message would have been given to us probably as children about what we find acceptable or not. And that has imprinted at a very subconscious level, and sometimes we're not even aware that it's a belief that we hold. But we hang on, and when we hang on, we begin to experience suffering. Pain is guarantee. Everybody's going to have a little bit of that somewhere along the way, but suffering is optional. Suffering happens when I hold on to an idea whose time has already passed. It's when I hold on to resentment. It's when I decide that somebody else is wrong or bad and I'm the almighty right one. We've all done that, haven't we? I'd rather be right than happy. We should switch that around. We should rather be happy than right. Let it go. The journey that we're on will always reflect consciousness. Now, we may not be aware. There might be something going on in our body or in our experience that we can't quite figure out. Why is this happening to me? Have you ever asked that question? Why me? Well, why not you? Right? We're all here to experience. I think the whole idea of life is to get into this experience and have it. And having the experience means that there's going to be opposites. And that's how we can know. Like, you'd never know joy if you never had sadness or grief. You'd never know love if you hadn't experienced fear. So we have opposites, and that's what allows us to begin to see what's going on. But when we surrender into the Christ, we're surrendering into oneness. We're surrendering into the oneness of all of us. We're recognizing that when I look at you, I see the Christ looking back at me. And if I see anything else, it's not coming from you, it's coming from me. I mentioned last week that my ex-husband is sick, that he woke up to go golfing one morning, had a headache and canceled, and within 24 hours was a quadriplegic, excuse me. And 2 days later could no longer breathe on his own. And now a week and a half later, they're talking about him not recovering at all. So I was sitting back and I was thinking about first cause, because there's always a first cause. And it's not about getting a disease. There has to be a receptivity. And I remembered some time ago when there was a big disruption in the family that caused him great pain. And it sort of made sense that something would happen that would pull the family back together. And him being on his deathbed has definitely done that. It's kind of an extreme way to shift consciousness. So we're praying every day that he begins to realize that by letting go of all the pain and the struggle and the hurt from what was, that he can begin in this moment to experience something new. So my daughter shared with me a dream she had last night where she dreamt about him walking. And I thought, wow, that's a great dream. And that he was really angry at somebody. And I thought, okay, you got to give up the anger if you want to walk again. So we're going to talk about that this afternoon. I share his story because his story's an important one, regardless of how his healing looks in the next week. The reason it's important is because every one of us is having an experience, and sometimes those experiences, we don't understand them. We don't understand why life feels so hard sometimes. We don't understand why we have so much pain sometimes. And then we get caught up in how can we change it. And it's hard to change it when we're in pain, isn't it? Because we really focus on it. And of course, whatever you focus on, that is what you love in the oneness framework of the word love. And so it attracts to us more of the same. So when we're surrendering into the Christ, we're releasing our history, we're releasing what we see around us, we're returning to our source, to the core of being within us, and we are allowing ourselves to let go of the ego perception of reality. Because we do that, don't we? Our ego really wants to be right. Our ego wants to go, that person was bad and wrong, so I get to be mad at them and I'm perfectly justified. Of course I'm perfectly justified. But if I want to give up my suffering, I have to forgive. Thanks, sweetheart. Yes. That's how I lose weight. I shed it through my pores. It's not really working very well right now, but it's all good. We're on a journey. And sometimes when something really difficult is happening in our lives, we can't see the root cause because it's drawing our attention. And we're focusing on it so completely because it's so challenging. But what we want to do is go into that quiet place and listen. And if we take a few minutes to listen, we'll be given information. The challenge is that the information we're going to receive is probably something we don't want to do. Have you ever noticed that? You know, it's call somebody, forgive somebody. But we have a choice to make, and I know for my ex, Ken, he has a choice to make right now, to forgive or pay the ultimate price, which at this point in time means death. That's the prognosis from the doctors, is that they will probably take off life support come the end of the week. So it's a big choice, isn't it? It's an opportunity for everyone in this family to begin to see the power of prayer. Because believe me, a lot of people are praying for him. He's getting 15, 20 people in his room a day talking to him and praying with him. He doesn't believe in prayer, but he does believe in what I do. I call it treatment, and he believes in that, so that's a good thing. So I keep doing that with him. We treat together, and he feels better. In this moment, each one of us has a choice to make about life. We can choose to see every moment as a moment to be fully present as the Christ. Now, what did Christ teach us? Love, oneness, unity. Jesus the Christ, did not love one person. He loved people and life and humanity, and he brought that idea of oneness wherever he went. And so that's what we're required to do. So within us, sometimes the judgments and stuff we hold are the very things that are holding us back, but they're so ingrained that we really want to hang on to them. And surrendering into the Christ means I have to let all that go. I have to let it go. In the Bible, in Genesis, it says whatever you call it, name a thing or call a thing, that's what it will be for you. Not for anybody else, just for you. What are you calling your life right now? What are you calling your experiences right now? What about that friend who dissed you a while ago? What are you calling that person right now? How are you feeling about that person right now? Do you hold any resentment toward anyone? Most of us do. Most of us resent somebody for something from somewhere. Resentment, a friend of mine once said, another minister said, resentment is like drinking poison, expecting somebody else to die. It's kind of futile, isn't it? You drink poison, you're going to be done. But that's what we're doing. We're poisoning our bodies. When we recognize that the mind is creating the body, right? Mind creates the body doesn't create the mind. Our thinking oftentimes is reactionary because we've forgotten that we are the ones controlling it. There's something about our thinking that we think somehow it's happening from out here. You know, somebody made me feel bad, somebody upset me, somebody did this or that to me. But the truth is that I choose my thoughts. But most of us, like I talked about last week, if we're not meditating daily, if we're not taking control of this mind of ours, it will run rampant and do all manner of craziness. It will play around like a kid that's had too much candy running around a candy store and then, being let loose in the china shop. Destruction everywhere. What is it that your mind is doing? What is it that your mind is creating in this moment and in every moment? What is it that you're focusing upon that you don't like? Why do we do that? Any ideas? Right? There's something we really, really dislike or something we really don't want to happen, and all our attention goes there. Do you think that might be a problem? Our kids are late coming home. Oh my God, they were killed in a car crash. We're devastated. And then they walk in the door an hour late. I'm going to kill you, you little so-and-so. You had me so worried. It seems kind of weird, right? We're afraid they're dead, and then we're the ones who want to kill them because... Now, they didn't make us worry. We chose to worry, right? We got to get this straight. What we think about comes from us. It comes from us. My daughter doesn't make me think things. My husband doesn't make me think things. I choose to think things based on my history, the news, whatever's going on in the media right now. I am thinking all the time, just like you are. And the thoughts that I'm thinking are creating the life that I'm living. Do I like the result? Now, many of us don't like the result. But we don't know how to change it. Am I right? Right? We don't know how to change it. We sit back and go, I want something different, but I keep getting the same stuff over and over again. They say the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. We do that, don't we? We have a pattern of thought, a pattern of behavior, and we continually do that. And when somebody says surrender, we go, oh yeah, you just want me to give up. Yeah, I do. I want you to give up your idea of control. I want you to give up your need to be right. I want you to give up resentment and frustrations and annoyances. And when those things come up, because they will, recognize them, acknowledge them, and let them go, because they're killing you. You know, the mind, when we're thinking along certain lines, it produces different hormones and things, and those things settle in our body. And they produce results. What kind of results are you getting? Where's your fear? I like to think of fear as false evidence appearing real. Because ultimately, all fear is something imagined. Now, we talk about imagination as a really powerful spiritual faculty, don't we? We have a whole month dedicated to it. And yet we use it destructively continually. We worry about all kinds of things. That's just imagination. 9 times out of 10, what we're worrying about doesn't even come to pass. My kid comes home and then I want to kill him. The journey that we're on requires conscious reflection moment by moment. It requires being present in the now moment. In order to be present in the now moment, I have to surrender into my highest place of awareness. I have to get out of my race-conscious belief that I'm right and everybody else is wrong, or whatever it happens to be. And I have to relax into an idea of oneness unity, that every man, woman, and child on the planet is connected with every other, that we in fact live, move, and have our being in a God. You know, if you were to imagine the ocean, you know the wave is the ocean, right? There's no part of you that thinks the wave is something different in the ocean. We know it's the same thing. Well, you are that wave of God. You are it. Stop pretending. Stop faking it. How many times have you said, I don't know? That's a lie. You do. We are created in the image likeness of God. Now, that does not mean that God is 5'2" and brunette. Or 6 foot whole bunch and brunette. What it means is that we live in a universe that is energy. That energy permeates all things everywhere, all life everywhere. That energy is right here, being me, it is being you. That energy is the energy of life itself, and that energy is God. It is intelligent, it's everywhere present, all-knowing, all-powerful. If it's all-powerful, that means that I can change my experience, right? I don't know if anybody likes to kayak or canoe or whatever, but it's possible to go out on a river and paddle downstream and go really fast, and it's really easy. But it's also possible to paddle upstream. It's much more difficult. Takes a lot more effort, but it's possible. Am I right? Yeah, it's possible. That's what most of us are doing in life. We're going against the flow. Surrendering means we go with the flow. We notice the open doors. We notice the areas where things are moving and working, and we go with that. We give up our resistance. You know, most of us are resisting most things in life. We're afraid to say I love you because somebody might take it the wrong way. We're afraid to hug and kiss somebody because who knows what they're thinking. Stop it. Hug and kiss people. I do it all the time. I do it with strangers in drugstores. I can't help myself. I was at the other church a couple of weeks ago, and one of the members from my old church came. He was my bass player in the band at my old church. And he came, and I was hugging him and kissing him and telling him how wonderful it was to see him. And one of the members of the other church was like, your husband's right there. I said, yeah, I know. I continued to hug T-Jazz. We have an opportunity to show who we really are. We have an opportunity to be fully present in life, or we can withhold. Just know that withholding is going to cause you more challenge, more pain, more difficulty than surrendering into it. I remember being in a Shoppers Drug Mart a while ago and looking for something, and there was a gentleman who was standing in my way, and I said, oh, can I just see down there? And what I was looking for, he was looking for, and we had a moment. And we chatted a little bit, and we laughed, and we hugged. I'd never met him before. I've never seen him since. But we had this great moment of connection. Why do we fear connecting with each other? We've been convinced by the media that there's a bunch of bad people in the world. You know what? There's a bunch of good people in the world. What if that was what we imagined? Thank you. Somebody agrees with me. Yay! It's contagious. What if we began to understand the nature of life in a new way? What if we began to accept that the world is full of beautiful, wonderful, tremendous people who are seeking the same things we are? Love, abundance, health, connection, right? What if we operated from that premise that the majority of people are really great and terrific and simply want love, rather than thinking they're out to get me? Imagine that world. You know, many of us talk about a peaceful world, but it can't happen if we're running constantly from a fear place. That has to stop. We have to surrender into the Christ, which is surrendering into oneness. It means when you look at another person in front of you, you see the Christ. You don't see somebody who's scary. Like if you were looking at my youngest son, you might get scared. Big burly guy with a beard, tattoos, all dressed in black. Bald head, scary. Piercings, scary. Sweetest guy on the planet. His brother, the clean-cut, normal-looking one, he's the one you wouldn't want to cross. I'll tell you, we look at a book and we judge it by the cover. We need to stop that. We need to look beyond the cover and begin to see the Christ. And surrendering into that Christ consciousness ourselves, we begin to love ourselves enough that we can love someone else. See, you can't love others if you don't love you. You can't trust somebody if you know you're not trustworthy, or if you don't trust your own self, right? We live from the inside out, and we keep forgetting that because we listen to the news. Stop it. Nothing good on there anyway. And anything they're going to tell you, especially if it's bad enough, somebody else will. So stop it. Don't watch the news at 11 o'clock and go to bed. Remember that your mind is working all night. What's it working on? Doom and gloom? And don't watch it all day, this 24-hour news stuff. Come on. You watch it all day, you're getting the same news over and over and over and over and over again, and your mind is going, oh my God, there was 1,000 people shot today. No, there wasn't. There was one. But in our mind, because our mind doesn't really recognize the difference between imagined and real events, if we are constantly bombarding it with negativity, it is going to start to believe it. Stop it. Stop it. What if we were to begin to take our days and start with meditation and go into prayer? And what if every person we met, we decided to see them as good before we judged them as bad? And what if we complimented each other rather than in our mind going, oh my God, what was she thinking when she put that on? What was he thinking when he got that haircut? What if we changed it all up? And I do mean all of it. What if we lived in the now moment? What if we let go of the past? It's done, eh? Can't fix it. Can't change it. It's over. Maybe we should just let it go, right? Surrendering means we've let it go. And, projecting into the future, I know there's people who say, give me your 10-year plan. Pfft. Hell, I don't know where I'm going to be in 10 years. I don't know. I don't have a 10-year plan. I have a now plan, and my now plan is to live, to love, and to laugh. What's yours? Are you ready to do that? Are you ready to, hug strangers in the subway? Ooh, scary. How about when you notice buskers on the street to stop and actually listen to the music they're playing? Whether you have money or not, to receive the music. There was a story a while ago about a famous violinist, and I don't know his name because I don't really listen to violin music, playing the most expensive violin in the world, had been in concert, and people paid tons of money to go see him, and he decided to play in the subway. And you know who stopped to listen? Little children, nobody else. Nobody else. Why? Well, I'm in a hurry, got to get somewhere, got to do something. We need to stop and smell the roses. We need to get present in the moment. We need to receive the gifts that are around us. Surrendering into the Christ allows us to be present in this moment. It allows us to create, because the only place we can create is this moment. It allows us to love. The only place we can love, this moment. This is the only moment that exists now. And the power of now is that right here, I can create something wonderful. I can heal my body, I can heal my mind, I can heal my life. I can create a world that for me is peaceful, loving, and beautiful by being peaceful and loving within myself. This teaching is the simplest teaching in the universe, because the only thing it requires of you is to live in the now moment with whatever's in front of you. That's it. Just to be present and to love, which means we accept what is, right? Because what is can't be changed. What is, is. Now, what will come in the future will depend on how I experience what is. Now, most of us, when we have an uncomfortable what is, we resist it, and whatever you resist persists. So we have to relax into it and be with it and discover the gift in it. I think it was Emma Curtis Hopkins who said that there's something going on in my life, and I demand to see the good in it. Place a demand on the universe. Place a demand on God. You are an heir to the kingdom. Nothing has been withheld from you. Nothing's been withheld from me. The only things I can't receive are the things I'm not willing to receive, the things that I think I'm not worthy of receiving. What do you believe for you? What do you believe you're worthy of? If you were created in the image likeness of God, do you not think that means that you're created perfect, whole, and complete? What do you think? Do you think God made you broken and flawed? What do you think? I know. They don't believe me. I just always check with Shem when he's here because, he knows when you guys are like, not actually believing. Do you think God created you broken and flawed? No. Do you think the way you're made, the way you think, the way you were created is wrong? No. Do you think it's flawed? No. It's getting quieter as we go. Do you think you're flawed? No. Do you think you're perfect, whole, and complete? Yes. Oh, that was better. So if you're perfect, whole, and complete, why are you living the life that you're currently living? Why are you complaining? Why are you struggling? Just a question. There's probably not an answer to it. What is. So I have a back issue. Well, I know where that comes from. It comes from fear. Fear of all the bills. Fear of all the, all the stuff in life that comes along. But in the moments when in my meditation, I allow myself to see every cell operating perfectly because it must, because that's how God created it. In the moment when I relax into my body and do my meditation and remember my wholeness, I have less pain. Sometimes no pain. Magic. It's not magic, it's natural. When we will begin to look at the first cause of everything, and I want you to really pay attention to this. Whatever's going on in your life started somewhere, but it didn't start from a virus. It didn't come from somebody else, and it's not genetic. It comes from a state of consciousness. Now, what's good about that is that if my mind, my belief systems have created my life, does it not make sense that if I were to change what I believe or think, that I might effect change in my body and world of affairs? Make sense? Now, we've all heard Dr. Sheila McKeithen's story. That's pretty big, huh? What did she do? She found this teaching. Now, she didn't just find it, because some of us find it, right? We find it and go, well, that sounds good. And then we continue to live the way we've always lived. And then we go, well, I found the teaching and I pray every day. How come I'm not healed? Because we haven't let go of what it is we truly believe is happening. We haven't let go of the judgment that we hold about something, the fear we hold about something. We haven't let go of the judgment or criticism we hold about ourselves. What is it that you truly believe about you? What do you truly believe about you? And it's okay to notice that you think bad thoughts about yourself, because if you notice it, you can change it. Am I right? Yes. Awareness is power. Awareness is power. God created you perfect, whole, and complete. If you begin to see yourself that way, you will begin to experience a new life. And it won't take a long time to occur. I remember many years ago doing treatment with a friend of mine who'd had a major heart attack. And in the hospital he was in, they did the stress test and all of that, and his condition was critical. So I went in and saw him the first day he was there, and I told him, there's this thing that I do. Because I didn't talk to people about prayer or God or whatever, because a wall would come up. So I just said, there's this thing that I do. Do you want me to do it with you? And he went, yes, absolutely. So I did treatment with him. And a few days later, I took in a copy of Deepak Chopra's 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. And he called me the next Thursday, 1 week later. And he said, I just had my angiogram today, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with my heart. They told me I don't have the heart of a 46-year-old man, I have the heart of a 16-year-old boy. Now, they had done stress tests, which showed the heart damage. They'd done, the ECG or whatever it's called, and it showed the damage. But by the time they were able to do the angiogram, he was healed. So he decided that something happened. He didn't know what it was, but he came to see me every week after that to learn how to meditate and to discover these teachings and what they mean. This journey that we're on is not magical. It's not a miracle. It's completely natural that we would experience health and well-being in every moment. What is required, though, is we have to believe that that's available for us. And some of us don't. We've been conditioned to believe that the way we are is not good enough. The way we are is somehow broken and flawed, that there's something about us that's damaged or whatever, just not quite as good as everybody else. But if we were begin to look at everyone as unique and special, if we were to begin to look at everyone as the Christ, right? I mean, imagine for a moment if Jesus just walked through that door, you'd be ignoring me quick like could be and grabbing onto his robes. But what if you knew that every person you look at is the Christ? What if you were to receive every person that way with absolute acceptance, with a sense of wonder and awe at how cool they are, how different than you, but how remarkable? What if we looked at everyone around us with a sense of discovery, like, wow, I want to understand this or that? Imagine the world we would live in. We all talk about wanting to live in a peaceful world, and then we're absolutely chaotic within ourselves. There's no peace in us. How could there be peace in our world? It's impossible. Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. Be it. Don't talk about it. Don't tell somebody else about it. Be it. This life that we're living, we need to be present with it. I love the song that Ricky Byers-Beckwith wrote, maybe with Michael Beckwith, I'm not sure, but I love myself so much that I could love you so much, so you could love you so much, so you could start loving me. If we will stand in love, that means oneness. If we will take that with us everywhere we go. Now, I know we're going to have slips, right? Because people annoy us. You know it's true. I guarantee there's somebody in your life that maybe sets you off. Instead of reacting to them, what if you chose to view them from a different vantage point? In the Bible, it says, the meek shall inherit the earth. The teachable. Are you willing to be in conversation with somebody and actually hear what they have to say? Listen. Respect the information coming. Honor their individual choices. And choose to love them anyway? It's a whole new way of being. We are thinking the thoughts that create our lives. What are the thoughts we are thinking? I'm not thinking your thoughts. I know lunch isn't for another half hour. Yes, I'm a mind reader. Each of us are thinking our own thoughts, and each of us is creating our own experience based on the thoughts that we think. Each of us will look at any event in our life, the events of which are neutral. We will look at them and judge them good or bad, and however we judge them, that's how they will be for us. They won't be that way for everybody, but they will be for us. I come from a family of 10 kids, and I know that we could take one event, say one Christmas, and we could ask everybody what that Christmas was like. And even though every one of us was in the exact same place at the exact same time, doing the exact same stuff, I guarantee you there's going to be 10 different responses. Some of us will go, best Christmas ever. Some will go, worst Christmas ever. Some will go, don't remember. Who's right? How we judge an event determines the type of life that we will live. If we see every event as neutral and choose to think on it from a place of love and oneness, we begin to change the game. That's how we surrender into the Christ. We listen to that highest voice. And when we hear it, even when it's uncomfortable, we listen and we act. Treat and move your feet. Pray and move your feet, however you want to word it. We will pray about things, we will get instruction, and we will ignore it promptly because we don't like it. What if we were to listen, hear it, gulp, and then do it? Surrendering to the Christ is the way that you become the powerful, creative, loving being that God created you to be. Remember, you're created in the image and likeness of God. Therefore, the way you're created is perfect, whole, and complete. Love yourself so much that you have enough love to give everybody else. And then give that love away so they can learn to love themselves. And then they'll begin loving you. God bless.
Test. Is this on? Can you hear me? Probably not. Yeah? No? Okay.
Just belt it out. How can I say thanks for all the things you have done for me? Things so undeserved, yet you gave to prove your love to me. Voices of a million angels could not express my gratitude. All that I am and ever hope to be, I owe it all to thee. To God be the glory. To God be the glory. To God be the glory for the things he has done. With his love, he has saved me. With God's power, he has raised me. To God be the glory for the things he has done. Just let me live my life. Let it be pleasing, Lord, to thee. And should I gain any praise, let it go to Calvary. With his love, he has saved me. With God's power, he has raised